All right, let's talk news for week 7 now. Man, injuries is kind of the overarching story. I'm going to run through the injury report. We can stop and talk about whoever we want to. For Seattle, I guess one of the scary ones was Darrell Taylor. He had to get strapped up in that game, put on the gurney, and definitely they were trying to make sure he didn't move at all. He has a neck injury. Alex Collins has some sort of a setback. I think hip injury is where we're leaving that at. It wasn't really clear. Kareem Hunt, he goes down with a calf injury. Baker Mayfield dislocated his shoulder, and JOK goes down with an ankle injury, and he will have an MRI, I believe, today. I don't know if that's gotten updated yet. New England Patriots, Christian Barrymore goes down with a shoulder injury, and Chase Winovich with a hamstring. Dallas has Tyron Smith go down with an ankle injury in the game versus the Patriots. Raiders, Nick Kwiatkowski, foot injury. That one is actually, it might be detrimental to them because Nick Kwiatkowski definitely does bring some much-needed physicality to their defense. Denver has a couple of guys go down. Brandon Browning goes down with a concussion, and Alexander Johnson has a chest injury. Arizona had to put Corey Peters on the COVID list. Rashad Lawrence has a calf injury as well. A.J. Brown, he had a questionable tag going into the game with an illness, non-COVID related. But then you got New York with Kadarius Toney going down with his ankle injury in the middle of the game. That team with their injuries, they're the new San Francisco right now.
And it looks like Tony's going to be out again another week.
Yep. Anthony Hitchens for the Kansas City Chief goes down with an elbow injury. And tight end Jody Fortson, sorry. He got carted off and with a Achilles injury. I don't know. Did they update that to a torn Achilles or just a ruptured, whatever?
They have not updated the report as of yet.
Gotcha. Latavius Murray exited the game late with.
I was getting a little bit excited about that guy, but I'm gonna move on. I don't want to.
Oh, Fortson? Yeah.
Just as a dark horse, kind of player. Like, man, he was slowly that guy that was that surprise guy over there in Kansas City.
Yeah.
When you, if any Chiefs fan or a Chiefs enthusiast that's been waiting to see Miko Hardman or DeAndre,
DeMarcus Robinson,
Anthony, DeMarcus Robinson, try to emerge. It's been this guy. You keep hearing it, this Fortune guy keep coming up. Travis Kelce's backup, just for anybody who don't know. So, but anyway, I just wanted to just say that quickly. We can keep going.
All right. Latavius Murray goes down with an ankle injury late in the game versus the Chargers. Indianapolis, Paris Campbell gets ruled out with a foot injury in the first half, and then T.Y. Was ruled out in the fourth quarter with a quad injury. Don't know if that was just maintenance because they were up by so much. They just didn't want to get any more injuries. So hopefully they'll be fine. Oh, so no, Paris Campbell is hurt.
I thought you meant that only in reference to T.Y.
I had not seen a Paris Campbell update. So
yes, he is on IR as
okay. Carolina, Terrence Marshall got ruled out early against the Vikings with the concussion. That sucks. Cincinnati, Jackson Carman goes down with an undisclosed illness. Josh Myers for Green Bay goes down with a knee injury. Jalen Smith.
How?
I don't know. I really don't know.
How?
Jalen Smith suffered an oblique injury, and Darnell Savage was ruled out and was evaluated for a concussion. He'll probably be back next week. Deion Bush had a quad injury in that game for Chicago as well. Houston goes down. Terrence Brooks was ruled out with a chest injury, and Chris Conley goes down with a neck injury. And for the Rams, Johnny Munt goes down with a knee injury, and Jake Funk goes down with a hamstring injury. So, injuries galore. Jesus Christ, this is what I was saying earlier. The NFL needs to figure this out. I don't know if it's the turf. I don't know if it's the way these guys are hitting each other. I don't know if it's the equipment that these guys are using. These injuries are getting insane, and they're beginning to become more of an overarching storyline every single week, because now you're running in with third, fourth string, some in some cases fifth string guys coming in to play, and they're signing people off the practice squad to come in and fill in positions now, because there's so many injuries this year, and this is more rampant than it ever has been. These might be the same amount of injuries, but these injuries are way more severe that we're seeing going into these weeks. So this is we're not even halfway through the season, and we've got way too many guys going down.
That is true. And it's I mean, it's almost as the adage is every week is you almost is looking around and saying, okay, so who's the batch going to be this week? Because every week we're coming up with a new batch of players, which is kind of interesting. It's like, where are they getting all these replacements from?
Practice squads.
I mean, but like, damn, like how many
I
people are on
know.
a practice squad?
I
Because
know.
there's a lot of injuries, and it's not like as if to say you hear teams like they're really out there shopping around looking for somebody to come in and audition for a position. They're like, no, they have the next person. I mean, like, man, how many people y'all got in reserve? Because it's like there has been an alarming rate of injuries going on across the league. Some teams more than others, but come on,
Yeah.
it speaks to just how many injuries that there are. Because again, the perception is staggering. I don't ever remember it being this bad.
Yeah.
Even if it was remotely close, I'm like, I could not tell until these last couple of years have just been so polarizing. So anyway, I, good luck NFL. That's all I can say. It's literally gonna be like last man standing. You know, I talent is a talent, chemistry, game plan, execution. All of that is very and absolutely important to the success of any NFL team. Injuries have to be a new branch and a tier that has to have equal value of all of this, because it is the ultimate equalizer.
Yeah.
Literally, it cuts through all the BS, and then yeah, so
Can't do anything about it either.
no, no, and it's freaking undefeated. So
Yeah. Well, let's move off the somber news and let's talk about some interesting stuff, because the NFL trade deadline is, let's see exactly, it's November 2nd. How far away is that from us? We are 2 weeks out. 2 weeks out exactly from the trade deadline. And there are quite a few guys. We've already seen some of the first moves being made based off of the trade deadline. I mean, we saw Jalen Smith. He got cut from Dallas. We saw Stephon Gilmore get traded. And just recently, after the Thursday night game, we saw Zach Ertz get traded. So I can take him off of this list. But there are a few guys that I put down on the list here that I wanted to talk about as guys who should be waiting for that call after any one of these games, because they definitely are on the hot seat for getting traded. These are some good trade prospects for whether these teams are trying to get rid of these guys, or these guys are looking to get out of a situation, or these are going to be targets from other teams to try to pull off of other rosters. So starting with the one person who hasn't been traded, who has officially requested a trade, very hush hush, by the way. This did not come out in like a major story a couple of weeks ago, but Marlon Mack has officially requested a trade from Indianapolis. So that is of note. They have not moved him, but he has asked to be moved off of this roster. So that's one. All of the Baltimore running backs, I think, are eligible to get traded. I think it starts with Tyson Williams, because for some reason, with him being coming in, it seemed like he was going to be the guy coming into the season, and then they went to go sign some other dudes, and then I haven't seen Tyson Williams for the last like 2 weeks. Like, they don't want to use him.
2 weeks ago, but it was like, I mean, maybe 4 or 5
Yeah.
snaps, and I don't even understand what has happened from the first 2 weeks to now, and why they're so
He didn't have a bad start to the season.
Something happened that did not have to do anything with the
He come
game.
at John Harbaugh sideways.
He must have, man. He must have came at him several ways. Said something in practice or something. Came to vert. I mean, maybe came to the after all these signings was starting to
Yeah.
happen. He was like, man, please, I'm sick. This job is mine. You know, maybe who knows? Came to practice late a couple times. I don't know. Whatever the case is, they couldn't have did. I mean, I don't think I ain't gonna say they did a 180, but damn, a 165 maybe. You know, like it was damn close. Like
Yeah,
y'all
I
completely
think
went
it's
the
a
other
180
direction.
by now. Cause man, they I mean in a game that 3 running backs scored for Baltimore, Tyson Williams I don't think got a touch.
Name was not in that in that installment at all. I mean, everybody they brought in ate in
Yeah.
this one game, which is the most weird. Could keep going. It
All
was
right.
a very weird scoring
When it
game.
comes to it, I think all the Baltimore running backs could be up. Le'Veon Bell, Latavius Murray, Tyson Williams,
Freeman.
Freeman, as well. Anybody could be moved off of this roster for some other whether it's draft picks, late round draft picks, or trying to get
And not
maybe
to mention Dobbins is on IR, which they're not going to get rid of.
they're
So
not getting rid of him.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
For the fifth guy, you
yeah.
know.
But
Oh, Gus Edwards.
Gus Edwards could
I
get
forgot all
moved.
about you.
Yeah,
Sir.
but I don't know if they can be moved due to the fact that they do have an injury. I think when it comes down to it, they have to pass a physical for that to go through, and
Exactly.
they physically can't pass a physical right now.
And that was set a bad precedence between the franchise, you know, the organization.
But I mean, for me though, like it's just like, well, I know he has an injury, but would I still give up this for the upside of him coming back?
Yeah,
Like,
most
because you
people
can
are.
trade injured players in the NBA.
Well, that's true, but
So-
it's different nature of.
I know.
I get it.
I know.
Different type of sport.
All right. So Chicago though they have 3 pretty decent trade assets. One just came on, Robert Quinn. Finally, he's actually looking like he deserves the contract that he got. But for a team that now is 500 and definitely has one of the tougher schedules in the league, are they really competing for that playoff spot or not? If they do deem that they're not, and they really want to rebuild and build around Justin Fields going into next season,
Mhm.
you can get some trade assets for Robert Quinn here, kind of sell high, if you will. Allen Robinson, being that he is on a franchise tag right now, do they want to try to figure this thing out with him during the season and try to get a tentative deal done, kind of a verbal agreement done, or do they just move on and say, well, we'll just try our luck at free agency again next year?
Mhm.
And then the dude that should never have even touched this roster to begin with, Nick Foles. When are we moving off of him? So he is also going to be a trade target, especially with some of these quarterbacks going down now as well. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 2 weeks we hear him getting moved on to maybe a roster with a young quarterback, or even a team that has an injured starter. Miami, both their corners should be up for grabs here. Byron Jones and Xavier Howard. I don't think Miami is going anywhere, and I'm pretty sure Xavier Howard wants out. And I'm pretty sure they would be willing to move off of Byron Jones to continue to get some other assets. Now that Zach Ertz has moved on, now the talk has become are they going to also move off of guys like Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelsey out there in Philadelphia? Are they just kind of giving in on the season? Atlanta, are they going to sell high on Cordell Patterson, or are they going to move on from Dante Fowler or anything like that? Possibly. San Francisco, QB, Jimmy Garoppolo. Is he going to be up for grabs in the next couple of weeks? I know he's coming back off that injury. They've just had this bye week. Nobody's really talking about San Francisco right now. But, hey, if he's fully healthy and they're ready to go all in like Chicago is with Justin Fields, if they're ready to go all in with Trey Lance here, they could try to get some more assets back and maybe some more protection or maybe some more weapons based off of moving off of Jimmy Garoppolo here.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit, their probably only trade asset would be Trey Flowers. Really don't know what they would be able to get back for him on this deal right now, because just that whole team is playing bad. But he is the only bright spot on that defense right now. New Orleans, would they be possibly trying to move on from a Michael Thomas, maybe. With all of the issues that they have had with Sean Payton and Michael Thomas having some spats over the last couple of years here, and especially with everything that happened out in Pittsburgh with an Antonio Brown, maybe they don't want to have that same kind of diva wide receiver moment, and they're ready to ship him off to a team like Oakland that would be willing to take a guy like that. Right. Pittsburgh, though, speaking of the Triple Bs over there, Joe Hayden on the defensive side there, he's kind of an aging veteran. At this point, is he ready to try to find himself a spot where he can go get a ring? Because it's not happening with Pittsburgh. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Houston, wide receiver Brandon Cooks, maybe move off of him, just completely tear everything down. Obviously, the big trade rumor for Houston is going to be Deshaun Watson, but that's a tired adage. We're not talking about that. We know that's a thing. This is a more lesser deal
higher
that could
probability.
Yeah. Well, there is a high probability that Deshaun Watson gets traded by the deadline.
Really?
As it stands right now, there are teams that are like, screw it. We'll take on the risk of him getting suspended for right now. We don't care. Because the biggest thing is that his lawsuits are all civil lawsuits. So even if he does get indicted on those, he's not going to go to jail for any extended amount of time.
And then the NFL are going to come in with their nonsense for 6 to 8 to 6 to 10 weeks suspension. Nonsense. That's what I'm saying. It's just like, man,
Anyway. And as bad as that is, there are going to be NFL teams like a Miami Dolphins, like a Denver Broncos, many other teams that would be willing to say, screw it, we'll eat it this year. 6 to 8 weeks, definitely. You can go ride the bench. He's still going to get paid. And then boom, we'll have him right back next year. Because the other thing is, he already has a long-term deal. He already has a long-term contract. You don't have to worry about any of that.
Wow.
So.
And we learned nothing in the NFL after this.
Exactly. And finally, Minnesota linebacker Anthony Barr is another guy that I'm watching to be moved on from at this point, especially with the situation Minnesota is in. No, they just got to win, but they're still in a rough spot. So that's where I'm at. Any guys there that you want to highlight, talk about, have a discussion on? Or should we just leave that up to the comments?
We could leave it to the comments, but I know you mentioned Brandon Cooks. I guess I'll probably had a little pushback just from if I was just happened to be a lowly Houston Texans fan. Like, why would I give away the only valuable source of anything that's and David Mills' only target, his favorite
Davis
target?
Mills. Davis Mills.
Is it David?
It's Davis.
No, it's David. So Dave Mills, Davis. So he has 2 last names. Is that what
exactly.
It is? Davis.
That's
Mills.
exactly what it is.
Okay, I can remember that. So Mr. Davis, being Davis. So, that is, Brandon Cooks. Kind of like came out of nowhere because where has he been for 2 seasons? And then Davis Mills
been on
shows
Houston's
up.
roster. That's where it's been.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Houston. You didn't
was he frozen in carbonite all this time? Like he got
over there like Han.
Right, got freed up. like man, who woke this guy up? Davis Mills did. The bounty, coming in like a bounty hunter.
Oh no.
Yes, Return of the Jedi plug.
God, that's hilarious.
I was just saying, like, where was this guy for 2? I remember him. I kind of remembered him in LA for a second, and then here he is getting catches from Davis Mills. I'm like, where? I didn't even know you was in the league anymore. Like, where was you at? Like, and yeah. So I just wanted when you said he might be moving on. I'm like, oh, hold on.
Well, he might not be moving on. They might be moving on.
No. I'm saying that's why I was speaking on behalf of the lowly Houston, Texas fan base that has gotten. Man, it should be a mercy rule for this team. I'm like, I think they have come out and put a good showing considering just how discombobulated this franchise was going into the season. And yet Davis Mills has found some success, and he found it with this guy.
I know, I understand that.
No, I said, well, when you said Brandon Cooks, I perked up. Out of all the names, that's the one thing that made me look up. Like, wow, they would really actually move him? Like,
I wouldn't see why not, because at this point, you're not. I don't know because
It's his only target.
but are you really going all in on Davis Mills?
Who else I mean, what are they gonna do? Bring Tyrod back?
Bring
I know
Tyrod,
you
go sign
big
a
on
Cam Newton.
Tyrod
No,
was a Band-Aid,
I know,
and
I
Davis
know.
Mills was just a bigger one.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But
Like,
they're
so are
both.
you going to
But
try to
at the
build
end of the,
around him, or
but
are
at the
you
end of
going?
the day, they're both Band-Aids.
Exactly. So I wouldn't. Like if that's the case, if you're because I think we all agree Houston needs to go on to a full-fledged rebuild. I think they've already started.
I get that. I don't know if she needs to be the first block that falls though. But I hear you. I understand completely. I get it. This is just one of those moves I don't agree with. Like,
Okay.
and I'm saying, and these NFL franchises,
Because the other
they
thing is,
do
I
it
think he is
all
on the last year
time.
of his contract. I think that's the other thing with it. Is like, do we try to get something back for him, or do we just let him walk at the end of the year?
Doesn't matter because at the end of the day,
Because he's not coming back to this.
I was gonna say at the end of the day, nobody's gonna want to come to Houston.
Yeah.
Outside of a trade, you got to make them come over, and if I'm the fan base, don't try to sell me on some rookie next year. I don't want to hear that because ain't nobody that you're gonna draft is gonna help us immediately as soon as they show up in that door in one of these skills positions.
But I think it would also come in a package where, like, okay, we're shipping Deshaun Watson over here. We're gonna send you over there, and maybe
I
that's
get the Deshaun Watson thing. It's just when you said Brandon Cooks, I'm like, my goodness, man. The bleeding just don't stop.
No, it doesn't.
I'm like, man, we can't even be secure with the one good thing that's going on in the offense this year. It's like we might be moving on from this guy. Why? To secure a better draft pick? To get who? To get the quarterback that we're looking for to replace the two quarterbacks that we got right now? Because you see where I'm going with this? This is why
agree.
Houston
I
won't
agree.
move the needle because, is that the number one? And this is the problem. Quarterback is not even their number one concern at this point.
Everything is.
Everything else. Let's just start with running back, defense, offensive line, anything else other than the quarterback position. That's like you don't have the greatest quarterbacks, but you have functional quarterbacks.
Yeah, I was gonna say Davis Mills. It has not looked bad by any means.
No, and Tyrod Taylor is not bad.
No,
I was like, you can actually just keep these two guys, and then if you can find something down the road, it should be like 5th or 6th on your priority list right now.
Yeah,
like get real.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, I'm sorry. See what happened when you said Brandon Cooks. I'm like, what are you talking about? That don't even make sense right now.
I'm just I was just looking at rosters and I was just like,
that's all I had.
Who could possibly get moved on?
So that was all I had to add to this.
But
all of that.
But speaking of moving on, I wanted to talk about this head coaching hot seat. Obviously, we've had our first firing of the season. I think this is a well talked about story enough. John Gruden is gone.
He was not fired.
This man was fired. Don't even
step down.
Let's talk about it then, because if we're going to talk about this man was straight up fired.
Let this man keep his dignity. After he just went on the podium and lied. I mean, bald-faced lied, actually, with a bald-faced lie talking about I have no trace of racism in me. Says the racist. Says every racist person I've ever heard in my life.
In my body. But
I have no way of even being able to. I know I'm paraphrasing because it was so idiotic. I could not quote it. It was just like, dude, straight.
I did give you the code. The quote.
No, he kept going beyond that.
Yeah,
I was trying to get the whole thing because it was like straight out of the textbook. I mean, word verbatim, word for word. I was like, says every freaking racist. But go ahead, Mr. Gruden.
Yeah. So. But this man was fired. There's you can't tell me this man was not fired.
I can, just like they just told us all on the airwaves.
They straight up lied.
We all know that.
But. Mark Davis walked into that building and he was just like, you know what? Get John in my office.
Look, I'm reporting the news as I see it. Stop changing the narrative. They didn't say he was fired. They said he resigned. I believe.
No, it's funny though because they actually did say that he was fired to begin with. That he was during the Monday Night Football broadcast. They said that he was fired, and then they literally, as they were reporting that he was fired, they go to halftime, and then a statement is released by John Gruden saying that he is resigned. So. That's where the confusion came
I didn't
from.
care. Okay.
Yeah.
I never heard.
Because I don't know if you watched Monday Night Football last week, but
I watched part of it, but I didn't catch the segment where they said he was fired.
This had nothing to do with John Gruden anyway. I was just talking about fired coaches, and yes, he is the first one.
He was the first. That was where we started. Okay, so first domino fell.
Exactly. And so what my question was going to be is, who's next? Because this was a non-football related firing. So let's be clear about that. This was not about the Vegas Raiders horrible play as to why he got fired. No, that's clearly not the case.
Okay, we can play the over and under game here with this one because I
Yeah.
got a couple of candidates.
Okay, this is gonna be fun. This is a little bit reverse here. I like this.
Yeah. So if I had to say who is the next one on the hot seat, that is I didn't want to go here, and I didn't want to believe it, but considering the climate we're in and this council culture that's going on, it has to be Urban Meyer. Is the next one. I'm just
Okay.
it's for the most stupid, idiotic reasons, but it's gonna be on some. He embarrassed the franchise. You're freaking Jacksonville. You're already.
And that's what I was
embarrassing.
gonna say. It's Jacksonville though, so I really don't know if they will have.
I just say he should be on the hot seat, but give it a couple more losses, and believe me, they won. They won halfway across the world. That's what they won.
That was, well, no, but that's the funny thing is because when I saw that, I was like, isn't it just poetic that Jacksonville gets their first win in London? Because that literally that is their second home, basically.
I understand, and I understand it was a home game, but I also understand they're never gonna win in Jacksonville. That's all I got from that. That's what that told me. Y'all never gonna win in Jacksonville.
I am ready for this team to get moved to
Even
London.
when y'all
I
win.
can't wait.
I have nothing to add to that. So he's
Urban
one
Meyer.
of the candidates.
Yeah.
I just from the traction that has been going on, I haven't believed like any of that was necessarily a fireable offense. It's almost like they're treating him like he's a college coach in the pros. Like if he was in
to me,
college
it's more
and did
like
that,
they're treating it like it's like he's a child.
that's what I'm getting.
Like I'm
at.
saying, like this
that's-
is so.
they holding him to like collegiate level,
Yeah.
standards. And I'm like, okay, it's Jacksonville.
Mhm.
There's too many stories going on in the NFL that this is gonna get buried. And y'all trying to make this into a story because there's Urban Meyer, and we're just gonna try to keep pushing that and pushing that. You're freaking Jacksonville. Is local news in Jacksonville. No one cares.
Nobody cares.
So
That's one.
that's one.
Who else?
Joe Judge.
This is one that I had.
Buddy.
I had a couple.
Buddy.
Of...
Buddy. I mean, come on. This freaking New York now. I'm sorry. This is not the Jets. I know you play in New Jersey. I get that. As you so eloquently shared it with me. As I learned this 2 weeks ago.
There's only one New York team, and it's not anyone's that's named New York.
Ridiculous. And so Joe Judge is on my list, but go ahead. That's all I gotta say.
I just with Joe Judge, I would say he's such a fringe candidate for how bad that this like. If you're gonna fire anybody in that organization, it's got to be Dave Gettleman.
Say more.
This team is not built correctly. Like you have money spent in places that are just idiotic. You moved off of Odell Beckham Jr. You're ready to move off of him. You get a year away from him, and your team is actually looking like at the end of last year, like they could be trending in a direction where if they can, as everybody keeps saying about Daniel Jones, if he can just rein in those turnovers and figure that out, that offense can look pretty damn effective. But then again, he keeps fumbling the ball. But then you go back and then you sign another a lesser wide receiver to the same damn contract.
Right.
Like what was that? I don't understand the moves that are being made by Dave Gettleman to quote unquote improve this team, which this team isn't any better.
Right. I agree, and I know I started it. We started at coaches, but I mean, I'll put it like this. Let's just be fair. Somebody in the Giants organization needs to be fired. Somebody. I don't know who. Y'all pick straws.
Because the other thing is that with the construct, let's get back to Joe Judge.
Yeah.
With the construct of the team that he's been given, I will say, outside of Daniel Jones, I am pleasantly surprised by some of the play that I'm seeing. Kadarius Toney, I was completely out on when they drafted him, but they made him for at least a week look like a comparable wide receiver. You have Booker come in for an injured Saquon Barkley. He has a solid game. Defensively, they made some signings and they made some moves and they re-signed some guys. The Leonard Williams move is now looking like we might have overspent on him. type of move. And it's like, oh, kind of have some buyer's remorse on that one. But outside of that, they do have solid play in areas, and I just I want to see Joe Judge with his quarterback, with the guy that he chooses. So that's the only thing, because I have seen this team improve from Joe Judge coming in. So that's the only thing. But I think people might also give these New England coaching tree guys too much time. So I do also agree with you on that on that regard, that they definitely could kind of just wake up to the light of day and just be like, you know what, we just got to find somebody who is the guy, unquestionably the guy to lead this team.
Gotcha.
So I don't disagree with you, but I would like to see Joe Judge with his guy.
I have one middle of the road one, and I got 3 more after that.
Right.
So I have quite a few of these.
Middle of the road, as in
this is a middle of the road. No, when I say middle of the road, this one on the hot seat, but this is right now. It's at a 50-50. It can go either way, where he can kind of get himself out of this.
Okay. And then 3 other guys that should definitely be fired.
Yes, 2 of them are going to be hot takes, by the way.
Okay, let's hear them.
Throw that out there.
Let's start with the middle of the road. Let's get that
middle of the road one. Mike Zimmer.
You think that? Okay,
that's
a hot take to me, because I think that should not be middle of the road. I think he should be fired.
Okay, that's not me. Maybe if you want to say, I'm only saying that based on, he is at 500. It's not like but he is severely have underperformed, and underwhelming right now. And it's at the point we're like in year 2, year 3 now of this, and it's like, okay, you are winning. You do put out a nice product when y'all winning, but
you almost lost to Detroit 2 weeks ago.
That's what this.
Come on,
this is why I make him like 50-50. Like if he can turn the shit, probably not going to.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, Mike Zimmer. I don't even want to go any too far.
Okay.
So Mike Zimmer. The next one. Matt Nagy.
Okay. I knew this was coming.
You knew it was coming. Matt Nagy, you can talk about him. I don't need to even say anything. You already understand. If anybody's been watching Chicago this year, last year, and the year before, it's Matt Nagy. For whatever reasons you've seen, and you fill it in the blanks yourself. It does not matter. There's no wrong answer here.
And to me, the right answer for myself is this year, because everything before this year could have been attributed to somebody else's dumbass mistake.
Right.
But this year is all on Nagy. Play calling, decision making, time management, all across the board. It's bad. And so I agree. I wish this wasn't the case, because I genuinely do like Nagy's offense when it's working. But it's just a matter of when is this ever going to come together?
I like
is my
him
question.
As a coach. I don't like it would have turned out to be. I don't like him for Chicago. It just got more of that West Coast flair, and Chicago is just not that kind of team. I mean, we don't have that identity. You can transform.
We don't have the personnel for that.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah. It's like it's nothing that's built in Chicago, even from upon your arrival, that would speak to that type of offense specifically. You kind of souped it up a little bit in the first couple years, but
which is why I think Chicago needs Lincoln Riley. I would love Chicago to get Lincoln Riley out from Oklahoma. Play through the goddamn run.
I'm open. I'm open to it, because I mean, we got to get back to where Chicago's strengths are.
Run the ball. I guess because that's the other thing, is that Lincoln Riley is from the Big 12. It's like they don't play defense in the Big 12, so it's like, right. But go ahead and just do the new age NFL thing. Have your head coach come in and run the offense, and go get a really, really good defensive coordinator,
right?
And let him run the defense from that side, and you stay hands off. Just let them do their thing. You just make sure that everybody stays healthy and goes out and plays good football on that side of the ball. And then when it comes down to it, I want to see Lincoln Riley's touch on the Chicago offense, because I think Chicago's offense would greatly benefit from Lincoln Riley coming in and calling plays.
Got it.
His whole philosophy is, yes, we want to be this big play offense, but it's all predicated off of the run. I want to see us go 100% in on Khalil Herbert and David Montgomery starting out the game. I want them getting 40 touches a game, and then boom, just Justin Fields, 20 passes a game, but all of them going for 3. Like he ends up with 300 yards somehow.
Yeah. Getting these tight ends involved, getting you get your running backs in part of the pass game,
Yeah, so you can keep
and finally giving us taking some pressure off of your wideouts. Who, I mean, goodness, they got to fight through every double and triple coverage just to make a down play, and it's like, oh, look how wonderful that play Darnell Mooney made. Look what Allen Robinson did. Why does every damn play has to be spectacular to make the catch? Because like, damn it, if you can, it's just you can see when they need to work out and fix the kinks and work out the dents and knock all that stuff out, because they got a lot of work to do, but they do have a nice nucleus. But for where Nagy is and what he wants to do, like you said, that this is not the personnel for that. It's you would have to change so much for him to be as successful as he needs to be as a coach. And it's like to the point of you don't have any more time, and I'm sorry.
Which is the other thing is what I have an issue with is because at the end of the day, why is that even the case? Why are you not predicating your offense off of what personnel you have and not trying to make the personnel you have play the offense that you want to run?
And for questions like that is why he needs to go.
Exactly.
Now,
agreed.
Hot seat times.
Okay.
Hot takes. Hot takes for the hot seat. Bear with me on this one.
Oh, this one's gonna throw me for a loop.
If not this one, definitely the next one. Pete Carroll.
Oh no, that doesn't throw me too far for a loop. Okay.
And the only reason why the controversial part is his name has been mentioned up until this point. Well, it should have been. And that's the point. It's what has not been.
Me and you have been championing this since.
It's what's been going on for basically the last 3-4 seasons, but yet it's really starting to draw to a head to this year.
Yeah.
But with that being said, the Pete Carroll fiasco in Seattle is just all in itself. This, he's some quasi appointed emperor over there who makes all decisions now, and he's made nothing but piss poor ones, one after the next. And this team is not slated or situated for success now nor going forward. And now you've gotten your best player. He's out.
Yep.
And he may not actually even come back this year. Who knows? I know there's speculation, but it's a very valid thing that could possibly happen where Russell Wilson be like, the hell with it. I'm just shutting it down.
If he has any setback, I mean, I know because to me, I don't think he's ever going to sit out if he is healthy, just based off the person Russell Wilson is. But if he has any setback, like, he is slated to come back earlier than expected. They're really eyeing that 4-week mark now, not pushing it to 6 or even 8.
I would have been shocked if he came back, and I wouldn't have been shocked if he came back in 3.
I wouldn't be shocked if he came back next week.
Because I'm like, theoretically, I think it's all the doctors. I think he would have played last week had it was up to him.
I mean, he had that whole little scrimmage before the game by himself.
He would just you seen him. I'm like, he would have just wrapped his hand and just kept playing. He didn't care,
So there was that, and but to me, it's just like, if he has any setback where he comes in practice and it's just not feeling right, or if it gets pulled, I don't see how his family or his team doesn't pull him aside and say, "Hey, you got to make a business decision here, and you need to turn it in for the season."
Right.
I just don't see how that doesn't happen.
I don't either. I'm saying he should be on the hot seat and be out of here. I don't think he would necessarily be thrown to the wolves this year, but I think this should be the beginning of the end for him. Starting this year, and by next year, he should be out. I'm just because I don't see him turning it around significantly enough where this becomes irrelevant. So
I mean, if this team doesn't make the playoffs, it's just like, okay, what are we doing now?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It begins the conversation. They are at least at minimum. Seattle's like a year behind this. Like, unfortunately, he should be getting fired this year. Not
you say a year behind. I'm saying 2 or 3 years behind.
To the point of, I agree, but I mean to the point of even
because these are the same issues that have been stemmed back from 3 years ago.
Coverage. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's been no chatter, but at least you always got to at least get the talk out there first, and then it comes. But now we're finally at the point where we're talking about it. So it's just, like you said, they're years behind. This needs to happen now.
Yeah.
I mean, but it looks premature for somebody to just chant so hard, like, get him out of there, like right. Just a voice screaming in the wind.
They are 2-4 now, and they're trending down, and now they've got the injuries, and they still don't have an offensive line, which I've been championing since the offseason. So like they've got some
It's
big
all
deficiencies.
there. I mean, yeah, and it just usually it's not usually where it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
In a sense, it will come off like that. And that's why I'm like, damn, it's at least another year off.
Yeah.
Unless they just like the hell with it.
But I'm hoping this does become a kind of a crap fest right now, because if it does, that means Russell Wilson's on the move. So
exactly. Now, my biggest hot take from the hot seat. Yeah, drink your water.
Yeah, give me a second before I don't want to choke. Go ahead.
Are you ready for this?
I probably not.
And hear me out when I say it and understand it. Bill Belichick. Yes, I said Bill Belichick.
Wow. Okay.
Do
tell.
2-4 record. I'm just going off just year alone. I can go and I'm a bit and tack on the last year along with it. All of last year. 2-4 start this year. 0-4 at home. Let me just throw that out there. 1-1 in the division, 2-1 in the conference. If there's been anybody else with that 6-10 record last year with then you still got Cam Newton, and Cam gets COVID and he comes back, and then you don't have no pass game. Then you allowed your quarterback to take away your run game, and then you come back and now you have Mac Jones, and he was supposed to be the understudy to Cam Newton, and you brought in Cam Newton and brought him back to, then you got rid of Cam Newton, and now you brought out this rookie, and this rookie cannot, now you're putting all of this on Mac Jones's shoulders, and it's come out to be 2-4. And you, again, and you're 0-4 at home. If there's been any other coach, it's not talking about a hot seat, they'd be fired. So therefore, I understand he has a long
history.
But my point is, what's being fair? Either you're good or now you're not good. So I'm just asking, does 20 years buy you 6-7 years of just being crappy? I'm asking a real question.
I don't know if it buys you 6 or 7 years of being crappy, but I do think it does give you some leeway. It does give you at least 3 years to fix it.
Nah.
Which what I'm saying is that now he's a year and a half into that.
I understand that.
So
I'm just getting out there. It's getting worse. It's not getting better.
I am not disputing that.
I just find it hard that if you gave me 3 years, in the first 2 years,
I will say one thing that
last year is just going to come up and just be great. I'm like, how does that work?
One thing that does give him a little bit more leeway is the play that Mac Jones has had, which, by the way, is not 100% him. You do have a guy in Josh McDaniels over there running that offense.
Don't have a problem with none of them.
Yeah.
The hot seat is on Bill Belichick.
No. And what I'm saying is that I think that's what does give Bill Belichick, because since he is also the GM, he made the decision to go get a first-round quarterback who actually doesn't look horrible.
And that's great. Yes, go ahead.
And so with that being the case, with the way that he has played this year, and with them making the decision to move off of Cam Newton and to get off of those guaranteed dollars of his contract by cutting him when they did, making that type of a business decision, I do believe that he does have at least another year of...
Stop you right there. However, that was a flip side to that.
Okay.
And that was great. All that was true. However, what has he done for the defense? I don't want to hear about it. He brought everybody come back. Great.
Yeah, defense sucks.
Why did you? Thank you. And his defense sucks. So why you let everybody come back just to sit there and say everybody gets to keep a paycheck, everybody gets to come on back, we all family?
So you're now coming around to what I was saying about New England coming in this offseason. Bringing everybody back does not say that this is going to be able to be a better team.
I was wrong. So
just the way I was wrong about San Francisco.
Obviously wrong. And I'm looking at these numbers. I'm like, no, I'm clearly wrong here. I'm like, and that's my point. It's like, yes, if I bet on Bill Belichick 10 out of 10 times, one of those I just might miss, and this is it. This is that miss time. It's like you're not nothing's 100%. And I was like, at some point, even the great Belichick is gonna stumble. And I'm like, buddy, you're stumbling hard. And my point is, it's been 20 years. It may just be time to go in a new direction here altogether. Not with personnel or player personnel, but with coaching. You got to go.
I get that, but I think I think Kraft is going to go down with the ship with Bill
probably
Belichick.
Will, but I'm like, at some point, like when do you cut ties?
Yeah.
Because every great coach has moved on in my lifetime. He's the last holdout up until this point in my existence. So it's like, dude, what do you? I mean, is he a Patriot coach for life until he decides he just don't want to coach anymore?
I genuinely believe so, but that's a whole nother thing. I really think that he himself, Bill Belichick, I think he's earned at least 3 years from when Brady left, and so this being a year and a half into that, and with the upside that you're seeing from the quarterback play as it stands right now,
I think he should have lost 3 years based on the fact that he let Brady go. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not even a Pats fan like that. Anyway, I was just making a point that was my hot take for the hot seat. That I really do. He would be one of my candidates. Like, yeah, you sir, you thought you were safe. You are not. Your numbers don't protect you. Just because, I'm sorry. What you've done is what you've done. That's great. We can look at them 6 banners all day long. But the point being is we will never even get close to sniffing the 7th with this nonsense you're putting out here. Yeah. He has set them back to the Patriots when they were back in Boston, when they were called the Boston Patriots. Ooh. That predates me even remembering who they were. I didn't even know they were called that at one time. And then even as a 8-year-old kid catching the Bears play in the Super Bowl, playing against who was the New England Patriots? I didn't even look. They look weird
when
back
they
then.
Had the red uniforms.
Yes,
the Boston Patriots.
It was the same thing. They just finally changed to New England, but the team name, but the uniform stayed the same.
Gotcha.
But it was still with that Patriot with hiking the ball logo. Because when I first seen it, I remember asking your grandfather this. I was just like, "Is that a real team?" You know, I thought it was a joke. Like it didn't look real. It's cartoonish and.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. Right. It comes down to, I think,
he's taking them back to them days. Like,
I understand, but I think it's the 20 years of success. He is the greatest NFL coach as it stands right now.
I like how we're just ignoring this though. That's the only reason. No, I'm not saying. Yeah, that's my point. This is like it became a hot take for me because it's staggering numbers that the networks are refusing to talk about.
What I would want to see is what happens throughout this season. I think that if it turns out bad, where like they just completely miss the playoffs, they're not even in contention within the division or within the wild card race. Like, because that's where I'm at with it. I think that they can still get into this wild card race. Not saying that they'd make the playoffs and make one of those wild card spots, but they at least be 1-2 games within there.
Wild card race.
What I'm saying, just hear me out. Give me a second here. I do, if they can get that figured out, because I mean they played a very good game. Look back at just this last week. Currently, they played a very, very tough game, a very good game against one of the most efficient offenses in the entire 12th, NFL.
But go ahead.
Well, but what I'm saying, the separation between whoever is 7 between their spot 12 is not far.
I understand.
But as I was saying, they, I think, have an opportunity
you want
still.
Me to start some teams though? You want to hear the teams though?
Go ahead. List them off.
No, I don't want to do that. It's just a waste of time because all these teams are better than them.
Which is
good reason. But go ahead.
But I do still think that if they, with how well they played against one of the best teams in the NFL right now in Dallas, and how they took them, whether it was the defense blunder or
Dallas coming across traveling across the country to play them at their house, but. I guess if they went to Dallas and did that and lost, I would have gave more credence to that. I'm like, they were the freaking home team. They didn't travel. Everything was normal for them. It was more, which is more precedence to what Dallas did, not so much what they didn't do.
I agree, but I'm still saying they played a tough game against a really good team. It doesn't matter where the game is; they played well against them.
That's what they want. That's all I was getting.
Well, what I'm saying is that once we see at the end of the season whether they're in the playoff race or whether they're not, I think that will give credence to what you're saying. If they are starting to, if what you're saying and what you're seeing is correct, and they're about to completely fall off the wagon, and this team is just going to be out of the race completely, then I agree. Like, you should put him on the hot sheet. But again, I do think that they're still going to give him another year to fix it.
I agree. More than likely, but the point to take is who's on the hot seat.
Yeah,
they beat the Dolphins. No, I'm sorry. They lost to the Dolphins, lost to the Saints, lost to the Buccaneers, and lost to the Cowboys. They won at the Jets, and at Texas against the
Man,
Texans.
they almost lost to the Titans.
Moving on. I'm done. Bill Belichick, you should, sir, you are on the hot seat. I'm so sorry. Because this year, you don't, because it can't be like, well, I got Mike Jones and we got this rookie. You got rid of Cam Newton. I don't want to hear that. So these are just, I'm just saying, these moves, apart from his 20-year history, these are moves that get coaches, GMs, and coordinators fired.
Yeah.
That's all it is. These are fireable offenses for what he's doing, and they're very glaring. They're only being saturated through his 20-year history of so much success. I'm like, unfortunately, it looks like Bill Belichick likes to deal in the extremes.
Yeah.
Extremely good or extremely bad. And I'll leave it at that.
Which also does give credence to his philosophy on building teams. So, I mean, if they're extremely bad, that means they're going to have a good pick and they can possibly figure this thing the hell out. But let's leave it at that. I mean, I agree with...
Oh, by the way, they playing the Jets next week.
Which is a win.
Yeah.
But... so...